Hi guys, it's V. So here's my third and final video of the night. I didn't get through all of the 31-day tarot challenge, and I haven't even watched all the videos. I've got so many videos queued up to watch tonight. But as I said before, if I started watching them, I wouldn't make these. And the one I wanted to definitely go back on, I touched on different questions with different videos, but the one that I thought was really interesting, the court card you would date, marry, have as a best friend, and mortal enemy. So we're going to talk about court cards. I have done a whole video on court cards. It's like an hour long, and not basically I kind of squished 2.5 year study into an hour, like where I landed on the court cards. So that's in my videos if you want to watch that. But this question, it cracked me up. So dated, I ended up dating, I would date the Knight of Swords a lot. And in the video where I talk about how I associate them and all that, I like thinking of the courts with personality type names, kind of very much based on Myers-Briggs. But you would, the Knight of Swords is the visionary, and is intuitive and extroverted and logical and just such a knight. But the one, thinks he knows everything, knows a lot actually, but just a cocky, usually just really cocky. So like I had this love-hate relationship with Knight of Swords. So when I was making the deck and I'm looking at different visionaries, people with that personality type, like Bill Maher came up, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly, I mean, I love Bill Maher, but whew, he's a handful. So yeah, I dated a lot of Knight of Swords, but I married the Knight of Pentacles. In the way I associate them with the Myers-Briggs, the Knight of Pentacles is the ESTP, and he's the doer. I am INFJ. I'm the Mystic Counselor. We are exact opposites in every way, but it works. It works. He's, the other side. And he just has, he's amazing because he's so grounded and logistic wise. I'll look at something and get overwhelmed, where he just digs in and gets it done, makes something that seems impossible just look easy. And out of all the knights, I mean, he's always been my favorite because it's the Knight of Pentacles is the most grounded one. The knights are all on a mission, and you can, you've got you've got the champion, the Knight of Cups, the visionary, the Knight of Swords, the performer, the Knight of Wands. That one, he gets away with a lot just because he's so damn charming. I put Bill Clinton as the performer in my deck. But the doer, that's my husband. That's the one I married. And in the deck, he's Conor McGregor. That's the doer. So, best friend, Queen of Wands. My best friends usually tend to be queens. Queen of Wands, but like in our little foursome that we have, I think there's one of each of us. Queens are social introverts. Pages tend to be introverted, like very obvious introverts. But queens can be deceptive. Like people will think that they're extroverts, and really they're not. They're just social extroverts. But you don't draw your energy from that interaction. You still draw your energy from that alone time. So I usually, it's queens, and B, my bestie, she's the Queen of Wands, the nurturer. And I love the Queen of Wands, though. But you go back to the mortal enemy, that could also be the Queen of Wands, because out of all the ones, the Queen of Wands, the nurturer, that one, when things go bad or when you go way too far, the Queen of Wands will go psycho on your ass. She's the one that'll key your car, slash your tires, burn your shit in the front yard. I mean, Queen of Wands, when you talk about like psycho bitches, they're usually pretty much Queen of Wands gone bad, I will have to say though, my other best friend, the one I grew up with, she is the King of Swords, the executive. And it's very rare for a woman to have that personality type. But she does it like a boss, because she is the boss, but she's also a great mom. And there's such a balance where the kings can be a little out of balance. You know, they're so like the king of cups is the giver and the teacher, but usually he's all messed up inside. But it's about being able to get to others, you know, and be there for them. And again, the pentacles I love, you know, way more grounded with the, but then sometimes he can't see the emotional side of things, but he is the most well-rounded. But this king of swords, it's such a strong personality type, but for a woman to have that, she's amazing. It's like, I'm not worthy. I mean, she's just awesome. So the only best friend of mine that I think isn't a queen is hers, the king of swords. But yeah, the mortal enemy, I would definitely say the Queen of Wands. Think about this. Like, when I was looking for people to go in the deck, when I got to the Queen of Wands, I was going to use Mother Teresa. And I used people that it's basically agreed that that's their personality type. And my husband's like, please don't use her. All those things about her. I said, but that epitomizes the Queen of Wands. This shows both the nurturing side and the dark psycho side, you know, because they're the queen of fire. They're the water of fire. Can be very, very volatile. But I love them. They've got the best hearts if they're not psycho bitches, man. So, so that was day 14. But then I'll go right into 15. Your views on the tarot court. Is it the court outdated, not needed, etc.? Again, my video explains all that, but I will say, when I was learning the tarot, the last video I did, I talked about learning the meanings and all that kind of stuff, and I left out the quartz, really, because that was a whole different thing. The quartz were the last thing to really click for me, and forever. Like, when I tried to do traditionally, when I thought about the way you know, it would tell about people, and it being, I knew in my readings that they weren't people. Every once in a while it comes up, and it is somebody. It represents somebody, but usually it's an aspect of the querent. It's either a level of a process, you know, where they are in a process, or an aspect of that personality type that they're either exhibiting or they need to tap into. Took me a long time to get to that, though, because I studied the quartz forever, and everybody does them different. So when I matched them up with the 16 personality types, I looked at how everyone else was doing it, and none of them rang all the way true for me. So I had to start from scratch and be, well, this is how I would do it, and this is why. And they line up so great. Once I really studied them, and I got a handle on what the quartz are in the reading, they add so much now. You know, where they were the bane of my existence, and I wanted to take them out of the deck. I so wanted to, but I couldn't. I had to get them down. And it was the last part of tarot that kind of clicked for me. And it's still evolving and learning, but I love the quartz now. But I do see them as different personality types. I have it. Where did I write it down? I don't know. I could tell them. I know it. Okay, here it is. So I wrote it. So basically, the quartz in the suit of swords are the rationals. So you've got the architect, the visionary, the mastermind, and the executive. The quartz in the wands are the artisans. You've got the artist, the performer, the nurturer, and the provider. Then in the cups, the quartz are the idealist. You have the idealist, the champion, the mystic counselor, and then the giver, teacher. And then in the pentacles, it's the quartz are the guardians. And it's the craftsman, the doer, the duty fulfiller, and the guardian. And seeing them that way, it fit the traditional meaning, but it gave it more. And it wasn't like an older man with dark hair. We're talking more personality types. And there's no good or bad personality, in spite of what I've said earlier in the video. But any personality can be good or bad. These are the Myers-Briggs isn't good for a lot of things. I mean, it's very stereotypical. It's stereotypical personality types. But what are the court cards? Stereotypical personality types. And so, but I knew there was also something more than that. And so I also see them as levels. As, and this is where people differ with me a lot. I know the beautiful, wonderful Katie Flowers sees the quartz elements the same way I do, but I don't see it as yin and yang and masculine and all that. To me, it goes inwards and outwards, and you gain more receptivity and authority each time you go through a process. And the quartz show that. Like, so the pages for me are air. And it's air because pages are communications and nascent messages. It's when you first get the idea, when you first become interested in something, when you're researching something. Pages, want to figure it out, but that's air and thinking. And then you go to when you've been thinking and researching, but then the internal becomes external, and it's action. So then the nights are all about, I put the nights with fire. It's action. You've got it in your head, you know what you know, and now you're going to go. The thing is, there's still a lot of learning to do, but you can't learn until it's like learning how to read. You're not going to become a great reader if you don't read for other people. You need that experience. You need that's how you learn. That's how you grow. So that brings us to the queens, and that's water. And that's when you gain that knowledge and that receptivity, and it gives heart to it, and you learn from it, and you acquire some authority, some knowledge with it. And then it comes external again, and that's the kings. To me will always be, I'm writing it down as I say it, the kings to me are earth, because that shows the manifestation, the solidness, the mastery of it. So there's certain things that, like, and I mentioned this in my tarot, in the court card video, there are certain things, like, as far as I feel like I'm in the queenship stage of tarot, as being a reader and all that, I will never feel like a king, because it's a continuous journey. But I've come pretty far, and I'm pretty grounded in where I stand and what I believe, and readings and all that. But there's still room to go. There's other things, though, that you can definitely, in the process, like, let's say the deck I'm making that I just got stuck on, I hope to hold it in my hand and feel that sense of kingship, that I've mastered it, that I've done it. So usually when the court cards come up, it's one of those two things. It's an aspect of a personality type, either that's being exhibited or needs to be embraced, or it's the level in a process, what stage you're in a process. And every once in a while, it actually represents somebody to the querent. But that's usually when that's what happens the least. But when it is, it's very obvious. And it's them that says, oh, that's my mom or my dad or my boyfriend or, whoever. So that's my take on the court cards. If that made any sense to you, you might want to scroll down, and if you have the time, listen to watch the video I made on how I got to those associations, and a little bit more in depth. That's just the quick version of it. So that's it for tonight. I'll see you guys later. See ya.